second half of section 1.4, bottom of 110. All right, today we want to look at another way that we can combine two functions. We did combinations yesterday where we were adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing functions. Today we want to look at a composition of functions, which is plugging one function into another one. That's a composition. So you did compositions last year in Algebra 2, but basically the idea of a composition, for a composition, I'm going to plug one function into another one. So you may have gotten familiar with this notation last year in Algebra 2. Our textbook writes it this way. I don't care which way you write it. It means the same thing. So, for instance, if they say f of x is the square root of x and g of x is x minus 1, and they ask me to do the composition f of g of x, if you like that other notation better, perfectly fine. You can replace the first type of notation with the second. So we'll start on the inside of that function with g of x, and we'll replace g of x with what it's equal to. G of x was x minus 1. So let's just put x minus 1 in the place of g of x, since that's what it's equal to. And then when we get there, we know what to do, because that's that same function notation we've been working on for a couple of months now, where if they give me f of x minus 1, that just means put x minus 1 in the place of x in the f function. So if I put x minus 1 in the place of x in that f function, then I'm going to put x minus 1 in the place of x in the f function. That would just give me the square root of x minus 1. And that's a composition. That's all there is to it. They also could go in the opposite order. Instead of f of g of x for the next one, they say do g of f of x. So again, whichever notation you like better. If I have g of f of x, I'm going to start on the inside and say, okay, what's f of x? Well, it's the square root of x, so let's replace f of x with what it's equal to, square root of x. Now I have g of the square root of x. That notation tells me put square root of x in the place of x in the g function. So let's put square root of x in the place of x, square root of x in the place of x in that g function. And that would give me square root of x minus 1. That's my composition. I also could plug numbers into the composition. Like the next one, they give me f of g of 2. So if I have f of g of 2, again, just start on the inside. Literally, you can like put your finger over this f and ignore it right there and just focus on g of 2. If you had g of 2, what does that tell you to do? Put 2 in the place of x, right? In which function? The g function, right. So let's go put 2 in the place of x in that g function. So that would just be 2 minus 1 or 1. Since g of 2 equals 1, just replace g of 2 with 1. That's what it's equal to. I evaluated g of 2, I got 1. Replace g of 2 with what it's equal to, replace it with 1. Now I have f of 1. What does f of 1 tell me to do? Yeah, it says put 1 in the place of x in that f function. So that would just give me the square root of that value, square root of 1. So f of 1 says put 1 in the place of x in that f function. That would be the square root of 1. That would give me 1. So replace f of 1 with 1, and that is that composition. Look at another one of those. F of g of 0. All right, let's start on the inside. Let's start with g of 0. So what is g of 0 going to give me? Negative 1, right, because I'm going to come up here and put 0 in the place of x. So that would be 0 minus 1 or negative 1. So since g of 0 is negative 1, I'll replace g of 0 with negative 1. Now I have f of negative 1. So what is f of negative 1? Square root of negative 1, right. So I'll put negative 1 in the place of x. So that would give me square root of negative 1. And you could also call that I if you wanted to. So square root of negative 1 or I. All right, let's look at two different functions this time. They tell me f of x is 1 over x and g of x is x plus 1. And they say find f of g of x. All right, so we'll start with the inside function g of x. G of x was x plus 1, so replace g of x with what is equal to x plus 1. What does f of x plus 1 tell me to do? Put x plus 1 in the place of x in which function? So we're going to put x plus 1 in the place of x in the f function. So x plus 1 in the place of that x in the f function. So I would get 1 over x plus 1. So those are my compositions. And like the combinations, the more challenging part of this often is finding the domain. So let's talk about how we find the domain of a composition. It is not the same way that we found the domain of a combination. For the domain of composition, you are going to find the intersection of the domain of the inside function, the one you plugged in, and the domain of the final answer.